Assessments have limits as sources of knowledge, but by respecting those limits, they may well be employed as essential tools in counseling. One unexpected discovery for me is the degree to which even a true false test can be used as a basis for therapeutic interaction. I anticipate that most clients will be interested in the results of the tests that they take and interpretations of what those tests mean. That interest is a stepping off point to guide discussion of their thoughts, feelings, and experiences. I think that in some cases, even if an assessment is not needed for diagnosis, I'd be inclined to use a test in order to establish a range of conversation topics. The test then becomes a common object for the therapist and client to share, rather than the client feeling they're constantly under observation. By knowing a general purpose test well, it could be used to multiply the options available to me throughout the counseling relationship. The history of psychological and aptitude testing is rife with examples of gender, culture, and age biases. I believe that the mental health profession has learned key lessons from its history that may counteract that background. Among my own strategies for ensuring exclusivity of the assessments that I use, two stand out at this juncture. For one, study the research literature. Other practitioners and researchers are a strong and progressing source of information on cultural variations for major assessments. The main instances of assessments, which are among the most frequently used, that we've studied this term, all have versions in multiple languages. Some also have adjustments for culturally commonplace knowledge. Researchers around the world study the outcomes of using these tests in their own environments, which provides an increasingly multicultural viewpoint on the major tests and scales. And one evening of adept searching and reading, even the abstracts of articles, may identify opportunities and lapses in my own assessment options. My second strategy for reducing cultural, gender, and age bias when using tests is consistent with my overall inclusivity strategy. I ask people about their points of identities. I seek to be open about my limitations and my earnestness in learning about variations from them. Each individual is the authority of their own point of view and experiences. By asking and reflectively listening, I may calibrate my biases while building rapport. I will encourage them to point out to me parts of a test that seem loaded or inappropriate. I do not assume that a person's geographical origin, language, appearance, gender, and like factors can reliably inform me of how they think and feel. I seek to rely on the individual for that and hope for an honest conversation that leads to mutual understanding. That's how I work with learners in my classes and how I plan to work with clients in counseling. As a student of counseling, I must become proficient with the most frequently used tests. I will acquire and read the manuals and practice administering, scoring, and interpreting them. That way, when I'm assigned to administer one of those tests, I'll have a foundation to do so confidently. I will also research these tests, saving key articles which I may reference in the future in order to address the limits and the culturally relevant aspects to be aware of. Pursuant to my interest in using tests as a touchstone in exploring thoughts, feelings, and experiences with clients, I'll select a small set of assessments that I may use for that purpose, even without diagnostic need, and become proficient in them. Projective assessments may well be included in that special set. It will help me to become more knowledgeable about the statistical processes by which tests are created, validated, and evaluated. Some of that math is opaque to me, and I should have a stronger sense of how it works. Lastly, I should take the tests that I'm likely to use myself and have the results professionally scored and interpreted. By knowing how each of these assessments relates to me personally, I may better connect with my clients and their experiences in taking and receiving the results of assessments. In the long term, I'd like to be able to use assessments in research, perhaps even produce my own assessment methods. I have much to learn in order to reach that point, but it's a good challenge to have. I'm very happy to have learned about this part of counseling and psychology and to enter into the interesting world of psychological assessment.